Hey everyone, Secretary here, and in this episode of Creating K, I'm going to be showing you how I give Nart here a new outfit. It's pretty, I guess, mundane as a topic, but I figure that these are actually the things that you have to do in production, so I thought maybe it would be good to show you, how I do certain things that are just practical and not necessarily like let's do something that's good for a video, but it's not really how you do stuff. So first thing I did is I have a new document here and it's all white, and I just want to take the edge off that white, so I'm going to fill it with this bluish tone, and I'm going to stay within the blue range for this sketch. What color you use is really up to you. It's not necessarily like you could start with gray. The thing with gray is I like to use a bluish color, something like that, to sketch with. And if I have gray, it's gonna kind of clash the gray with the blue. But if I have like light blue and darker blue, should be fine. So we want to get clothes, and it's for a scene where Nart's gonna not be wearing his waitress outfit, and he's gonna be having like a leather jacket thing. And Flavia made this image a while back of Nart in this kind of leather thing, and it sort of suits him, suits his personality. But I kind of wanted something that's easy to take off. This seems a bit difficult. So I looked at some leather jackets first, and then I realized, well, his arms aren't going to fit well in those. So a leather vest would make more sense, something like this maybe. And then I saw this, and it's kind of like it felt right. It felt like, yeah, that suits his personality. So something like this would be good. And then underneath, he wears he wears a skirt in his waitress outfit. But I thought, maybe it's good to sort of keep with that, but maybe something like biker shorts. And then they also go all the way up, so you get this fishnet thing, which could suit his character as well. So that's the thought process behind this. And then I'll just go ahead and show you, how I would do it. So I don't really know what I'm doing. Well, the first thing I tend to do is I want to get a big general shape of his body. So something like this. So there's his head, very simplified, and there's his body. Because or his torso rather, if I can capture something on this scale when it's just like a blob, then you can see how I'm kind of doing it, right? Like I didn't get like a small brush and draw a line and then do that. I took a big brush and I made it pretty huge, and then I'm just kind of like almost sculpting, or not sculpting, it would be called modeling, but like adding to the silhouette to get the shape. So now that kind of resembles, Nart. And I can adjust it as needed. Again, I've mentioned in previous videos how I'm not afraid of using tools or anything like that. So probably those legs are a bit too fat, because his legs do get more skinny, but something like that. So there's our silhouette of Nart. All right. And flipping to check proportions, make sure everything's okay. His feet kind of come out like that. Resize a bit. I mean, it's not super important that I get his whole figure down, but I figure since I want to get make sure everything works, it might not be a bad idea. All right, so now what I can do is sort of erase to reveal some of this, some of the more accurate details. So I'm using the eraser to draw here. So he's not going to be wearing his apron. And what this does, like kind of treating it more of a modeling or sculpting, here I guess it's more of sculpting because I'm cutting into the form, is it allows me to make decisions and constantly like make minute changes to things, and I'm not committed. So I can kind of discover the forms rather than having to precisely draw them. And I get to see the whole very quickly because here there's no details. So I didn't draw like the face or anything like that. It's all just general things. So I can add like the hair and then sort of cut into it. All right, and then he's not going to have the big shoulder pads, so his neck's going to go in, his arms are going to go down. Those a bit fatter. And this is going to serve as a base. So when I need to, his feet don't make any sense. When I need to do iterations, I can just reuse this base. Let's just simplify this. Make it more narrow so that he can actually put his shorts on. Maybe something like that would work better. All right. Okay, so now we have like a general silhouette for him. Keep changing my mind with his feet. So now I can do like a more little more refined drawing. So I lowered the opacity so you see less of this, and I'm going to darken the value a bit, and I'm gonna shrink my brush, and I'm gonna actually get more of the form in here. So I want to treat these as shapes with three-dimensional planes. So this plane is facing forward, this plane is to the side, and so it's not specific anatomy in a very detailed way. It's just the building blocks, the big shapes that I'm concerned with here. So here's the middle of the torso. And because I didn't start this way, I did have a chance to get the gestures more organic. See, if I just started with like these basic blocky shapes, I might end up getting a stiff drawing. Whereas by starting with just a silhouette and then getting a silhouette I'm happy with, I now have a structure I can put this stuff on. And it goes pretty quick once you get the major landmarks in. So center line again on the head. And this part's all coming around. That. Okay, so, and the pecs are here. So now we have a good base to work off of. Can, you know, if I want add more details like cylinders on those legs, you'll see I'm going all the way around when I do these. I'm not doing like I'm doing these kinds of shapes. I'm not doing this, which you might see, you know, sometimes. So that was in the a leg shape. You might want to do this, but I prefer to go around. It helps me get the 3D feeling much better. Okay. And this leg seems a bit off, so I'm going to fix that. Feels a bit better. Yep. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I suppose I could do one more layer of refining. But I think it might be okay to just keep an older version and do a rough pass on this. So the reason I'm doing that is because I want to get a sense of like the shapes. So I lower the opacity of this again so I can work on top. But I want to get the shapes of the outfit down. And I'm doing a 3/4 view because that's the way I can get most information, where I can get kind of like a side view. You'll get some information, and a front view you get some information, but a 3/4 you get a bit of the side and a bit of the front. So that works. So now I'm just going to work around him and going to just shrink the brush a bit. So thinking about this vest now. And how this goes around. So I'm thinking of this, see where the zipper is? This opening goes around, then it goes up, and then we go around this collar, and then back, and then there. So this is coming, this is coming around like that. And I'm looking at the center line to determine, you know, where the middle is there. It's not like there, right? It's not in the center of this shape. It's in the center of this form, which is there. So that probably comes down like that. That comes down like that. Okay. And then we go down to about there. Maybe a bit lower. And we come around there. So I'm kind of doing a study on the spot, you could say. And I find those are pretty useful because whatever information you need, you end up using right away. Okay. So it comes up, goes down. Like that. And then he has this like circle thing here. And then the vest comes out like that, comes like that, then it comes around like that, gets a bit wide here. And then we've got to clear his big pecs because he does have a lot of muscle. So that clears that, and this comes down like that. All right, so now we have the rough shape of the vest. But in Kay's designs, things are a bit different than in, you know, strictly real world designs. For instance, the collars, instead of doing this, how was I doing it? Sorry. Like instead of this, the collars are, they go down like this. So I would have to change that up there a bit. But other than that, should be fine. So yeah, maybe this comes down. I mean, maybe that's not even necessary. But there could be a way to make this a bit more unique. So let's just duplicate that, have that off to the side as reference, and then work on this one. So I think it would be cool if it kind of resembled this a little bit, his waitress outfit, and it just kind of went up like that. So the collar is sort of replicating his current outfit, and that's something that tends to be, maybe I overdid it, so let's just do that. That tends to be a good idea when doing designs, is to make things sort of visually related, because in real life we don't really do this, where you have clothes that represent motifs. But when it comes to stories, you're not really dealing with reality. You're dealing with a kind of pseudo-reality where you want things to make sense in a world, not necessarily make sense in reality. And you want the character to be conveyed for the good of the story, not for the good of sense making. So it doesn't have to make a lot of sense. It just has to feel right. So this part's going to be black. And then the color we choose for black is also important. Like I've been using this blue as a substitute for black. Do I stick with that? Do I change it up? And then he'll have zippers. So let's just get, there's a zipper there, and then a zipper there, and a zipper there. And in the world of K, their buttons are all this shape, instead of like that. So I can maybe do something like have 2 of those. And then let's look at the shorts. So it's all one piece. It comes around down like that. Now he has his little chest fluff things. Maybe they just sort of peek out. And then this comes to about here and here. And this part's all like skin tight. And then this comes like that. And this is all fishnets. And then I could keep it light, so it's light and then fishnet and then dark. Could work. Maybe there's like a pattern. Maybe something like that. We'll see. Let's look again. So he has certain shapes that I like to play with. Like there's a lot of these triangular shapes like this. So I did like a line, and I'm thinking maybe I could make it more like that to be a bit more triangular. I think that works. But we'll see. We'll see when it comes to the coloring what we can do. And then also the size of these things might not be so big. I'm not sure I like that. Maybe, so these kind of come around. We could do something like that, where this is all dark. Maybe that. Well, this is the process. This is kind of the reality of it. It just takes a long time to do these things. It's becoming too much of a focal point, so I want to kind of get rid of that. Don't want it to be... I mean, it might be better to just keep it all black so it kind of fade. Yeah, I think that works better. And then he doesn't need to necessarily wear his gloves anymore because he's outside, but I don't know if he'd have any accessories. No, I think he's fine without glasses. Okay, so now that I have that, I'll take the next pass. So what I can do is now lower the opacity of this again and just go and pretty much do the final lines now. There's some issues there, so it was good that I flipped. So that needs to be, oops, new layer. Needs to be more like that. Comes around. Sorry, I get quiet when I draw. I just don't have the brain power to draw and talk at the same time. Not exactly sure what these are, some kind of wraps that go around. And the anatomy is getting simplified. I'm not sure if he only has the bandages on one side. Probably. That's probably better. Create some asymmetry. And the style is pretty simple. So in these things, like if I was doing a more realistic style or complicated style, I'd have to put in more details. But because everything's fairly simple in this style, it doesn't need that much. You'll notice I still haven't drawn any details on the face. I suppose by now it's okay. Can draw some. Now, if I wasn't focused mostly on design, and I was doing more of a clean drawing, this would not be the last stage. I would do another pass for the drawing to get that really really more defined, work out the line width and things like that. This face area here is looking big. Thinking his markings kind of create this shape for his chest. So they go out there. All right. So I'll make this part possibly a different color than this part, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Because keeping things simple is actually super important. And if you get too complicated, it can get in the way of that. Like even this area is probably too complicated. Something like that would be better. And coming around, and boop. All right, and then we have this thing coming like that. That goes like that. And we have a zipper there. All right. Kind of hate the beak. It's not looking right. Maybe it's also the eye placement. Gonna give it more of a perky head feather. Yeah, okay. And then this leg. All right. So I imagine this is not incredibly exciting to watch, but I'm really trying to get across more of just the reality of these things. They're not necessarily super exciting, but a lot of times art is more grunt work. So there. Okay, now what I want to do is focus on the colors a bit. And he's actually should change that eyebrow. And how are we gonna do that? Let's see. Normally what I like to do is just lasso it, so I guess that's what I'll do. So I'll get the lasso tool. And I'm just using a combination of Shift and selecting, or Alt or Option on a Mac, and I'm just making these little shapes. That way I don't have to be too perfect with it. See, like I went a bit off, I can just erase that. And there's a trick when lassoing where if I wanted to lasso this arm, for instance, what I would do is I would be looking, and I would use my eye to trace the path, and I would have the lasso a bit later than that. The same way when you're driving, you look down the road and you adjust to things that you've already seen. So for instance, I am not looking at where my pen tip is, I'm looking at where I'm going. And when you do this, I guess I've had a bit of practice, but what happens is it's much easier than if I was looking at the tip of the pen and trying to follow it. Like, you just have to assume your pen will follow wherever your eye was looking. Like, it can remember the, I don't know, topography. And as you practice, you can get pretty fast with it. It's not to say I don't make mistakes. And if you want to be fast, sometimes it's better to make the mistake and to correct it afterwards than to try not to make any mistakes. So just checking, seems like mostly we got him. All right, so now what I can do is make a mask of this. So I'm going to make a new group and mask. So now whatever I paint within this is only going to, like, it's going to be limited to this. See? Like that. So this can get pretty quick. What I like to do is put down a color to begin with as like the ground, and it's got to be a color that's not anywhere else in him, so that I'll know, you know, what I haven't painted, and then on top of that I can just, you know, fill in. So I've got the colors that I can reference from him directly, and here you'll see there's a bit of a mist area, but that's no problem. I can just do that. So the feet are going to be pretty easy because I just have to get these parts. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like this is just a design for clothing, so it's not essential that everything be super like well done. And the beak is the same color as the legs, so okay. So with this technique, it kind of goes faster the more layers you do, because each time you're working underneath something that's already done. So the first thing I want to do is get all the areas that I'm not sure about what color they are, and then the areas that I am sure, those will be much, get the other way around. Get the areas I am sure, get those first, and then at the end we just deal with the areas we're not sure about. So here, just gonna get that eye. So I'm always making new layers under the one I just made, so that every time I can be a little less careful. Now for this area with the fishnets, I'm going to actually keep it the same color as the rest of the feathers. But this is the light color, so hold on. Let's see. Wouldn't actually affect all of that. Let's do that. And fill it with that. All right. I think we just have one color left, which is the blue. And then we can work on the rest. So at this point, I really can get away with being a bit less careful around all this area. That's all going to be blue. That's going to be blue. That. Oh, and also this area. All right, now, because this is going to be hard to get later, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this area, and then I'm actually going to deselect everything else. So I'm only left with this little window. And this needs to be above these colors, so I'm going to make a new layer. And the color doesn't necessarily matter, but it needs to be set on multiply. And now I can use hue saturation and shift that to any color I want. Maybe something like that. Can make it lighter or darker. Maybe that's good. Yeah. All right. So now I have that. So now these are all the things I know are gonna be here, all the colors. So I actually combine all of them. So I have that on its own layer. I have all of this. So now anything I do here is just going to be colors that I'm not sure about. So the way I do that is first I'm going to isolate each color region. So I know the buttons are going to be different. This zipper is going to be different here. So that's going to be one zone. So let's give it weird color. It doesn't matter what the color is. I just want it to be contrasting. Then I know this area and the shorts are going to be another color. Oops. So let's make those purple. And to clarify, I can just rename these shorts, buttons, Nart, fishnets. And by having these on different layers, it really, like these colors, undefined sort of, it helps a lot in making interesting choices, because I can experiment with a bunch of different choices, you'll see. So this area, I guess, would be, these would be all either one tone or two. Let's see what it's like if it's one. It's too boring, so I'm gonna make it two-toned. So All right. Okay, so now I have a color for this. Everything's got its color. Now it's looking a bit flat because we have no shading on it, but we can quickly add a bit of shading just to suggest some dimension. So here I'm using a hard round brush. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add some basic shadows. I'm not worried at all about the colors at this point because I'm just getting the values in, and sometimes I'd rather do this with like a blank color, and to do that I just will do something like this. So now I can just focus on purely where the shadows are. Actually, I should have done that because it makes things a lot easier to just imagine where the shadow areas are going to be. When you're not dealing with like all these little colors. This is going to be in shadow there and there. Actually just select a large area, put that entire leg into shadow. And then here under the knee. That goes into shadow. And then that's gonna come out, and then something like that, and that arm is going to cast a shadow on the short. So now we have a little bit of dimension. Can get rid of this layer, and now we have the shadow. Okay, so now we have Nart. He's just missing a highlight in his eye. Let's just give him that. All right, so now I have Nart in these weird colors. So I'm going to call this one V1 because I want to do a bunch of them. So what I'm going to do is extend the canvas so I have more options, and I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer. Fill it with a gray, maybe a bit of color to that gray, something like that. So this way I can focus on the colors now, and I'm not going to be distracted by the sketch and everything. And so here's Nart version 1. Oops, that's all Nart version 1. Okay, and let's see, how many versions do we want? Well, can have as many as you want. Here's version 2. Let's do 5 is good. There. And select all of them and nudge them a bit so we have more room for the 5th one. All right, so now I can rename this one version 2, version 3. version 4, and version 5. Cool. Okay, so now I can go in and make all these different color variations. And I can also go ahead and, if you want to be more professional about it, you can write numbers, which I like to do. Either I give them numbers or I give them letters. Usually I give them letters, actually. So let's go ahead and give them letters. A. So this one's A. And then I usually just duplicate that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then put 1 there. Holding shift so it stays in the same spot. And then I can B, C, D, E. Great. All right. So now let's go and actually change the colors on all these things. So we have buttons, shorts, and then what's this? Collar, and then this one is the vest. So the first one I would do is always the kind of a default version, like what would I expect to do? This is the least inspired version, so maybe I'd use the same color blue as this and the same color white as this. So can go in, make the vest that blue, and make the collar that white. Oops. Just preserving transparency in there. So now we have the white and the blue. And then for the buttons, like all we have to worry about is this and this. So I kind of like how the shorts are going with his eyes. So maybe that's not bad to keep that. Like if I was doing it normally, I would go for real dark. Let's just try that. So something like that maybe. Maybe that's a bit too saturated. So having the sliders really lets me make minor adjustments. And then the buttons. Maybe something like that. So there's one version. And then for the second version, what I often do is an inverted version of what I just did. So let's say we have this blue, but that's for the collar this time. So the collar gets blue, and then the vest gets white. So that actually looks cooler to me. And then that way I can also make the shorts this blue. And it kind of still feels like the waitress outfit, which is good. I'm calling it waitress instead of waiter just because no matter what gender, they're called waitresses in this. Yeah, maybe something like that. So yeah, so far I'm preferring B to A, but we shall continue and see. Now, are there any? Got 3 left to play with. So because I like the white, I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that white. But maybe the collar is gonna be something else. Maybe like a purple or a pink to go with his eyes. And I know he has a specific pink in his outfit, so let's pick that. So that way, what we're doing is we're kind of foreshadowing a future color scheme. And that kind of looks cool. It sure pops. And then for the shorts, we can keep them this original bluish color. And then the buttons, let's see. Now let's just keep them that way. All right, so that's another version. And then let's try it where the shorts are actually that color. And you see how easy it is to make all these changes. That's why I really like working this way. Just very simple once you've got everything down. Okay, so the shorts are that color. Now that's making this all very colorful, actually. You know what? Even just this, it's kind of funny. Maybe that actually works. Let's just try it for like a completely weird thing where this is just need to make slight adjustments. This could be more like that. And then this blue. Maybe it's more of a gray. Even the white doesn't look bad. Ooh, maybe that. It's interesting. Okay. Thinking maybe I'd like the buttons then to be brighter. Maybe they're white. Huh. Okay. So now we have that. And what shall we do for this one? Well, kind of want to play around with the vest being lighter again. Maybe it's not pure white. Maybe that. And then that's pretty cool. Okay. And for the shorts, actually I'm just gonna pick this color again for the shorts. And for the buttons, so all of this is done very intuitively. You just gotta sort of feel what works for you. What works for you is probably going to be different than what works for someone else, so don't worry about that too much. I'm going to make the buttons the same value as that trim. Okay, so now I have 5 versions of Nart, and I can figure out, what do I like? Maybe I like the vest of this one, but the pants of that one. Then I can just, mix and match until I get something that I'm happy with. But that's the process. It's pretty easy, pretty fun, and I hope you, if you're trying to, do some character designs and get some clothing down, I hope this helps, and thanks for watching.